Hey, this is Rick Kasalj, injury specialist from exercisesforinjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through a quick fix for hip pain while squatting. And I'll get Donnelly to go through the first exercise to do, and then I'll go through it in detail and I'll show you the other 5 exercises you need to do in order to help with your hip pain while squatting. Good, there you go. So it ends up being foam rolling the IT band. So what we really want to do is work on the tension around the hip, because the tension tends to be high in the hip, and this ends up affecting your squat and it leads to pain while squatting. So we want to foam roll out that IT band. So you're going from just above the knee to just below the hip, and you're rolling up and down. When it comes to sets, reps, and time, one set, 5 repetitions each direction, so up and down, so a total of 10 movements. And you're looking at going at a smooth, controlled movement when it comes to the foam rolling the IT band. Then you do it on one side, and then you do it on the other side. And then the second exercise you want to end up doing is you want to foam roll out the quads. So we've worked on the tension, the muscular tension on the outer part of the hip. Now we're going to work on the tension of the front part of the hip. And then so you're starting with the foam roller just below your hip joint, moving to just above your knee joint, and you're working through that quad, rolling through, smooth controlled movement. Sets, reps, and time is the same as the first one. So we're looking at one set, repetitions 5 each direction, so a total of 10 movements. And when it comes to time, smooth and controlled movement, massaging out things, and you're kind of coming to a quick stop at the top and the bottom of the roll. Now, moving on to the third one, we want to end up targeting the glutes, specifically gluteus medius. So we're foam rolling out gluteus medius. So you're going to move to a sitting position. You can move the foam roller so it's 45 degrees to your body. You're going to come up on it. You're going to bring one cheek and sit on it so it's at about your hip joint, and then you're going to roll from that hip joint up to like the top of your pelvis, and then go back up. Good. And it ends up being a lot smaller of a movement compared to the other 2. But the sets, reps, and time ends up being the same. One set, 5 repetitions, so 5 movements in each direction, so a total of 10. When it comes to time, smooth controlled movement, and you're kind of coming to a good stop at the top position and the bottom position. Perfect. So those end up being the 3 foam rollings when it comes to loosening up the hip, working on the tension around the hip. Now that we've kind of loosened things up in the kind of the superficial muscles of the hip, so what you can end up seeing, it makes it easier for us to get deeper into that hip and get to the muscles that are tight, that need to be loosened up, that are causing hip pain while squatting. So now we're going to sit into the ball. So we're going to bring the ball into the hip. So you're going to have a seat into that ball, and you're kind of looking at massaging around that hip joint. So you're sitting in the ball, you're going to move the ball in circles, clockwise, counterclockwise, up, down, side to side, kind of massaging out that area. Now you can control how intense it is by putting more weight into it. So it should be uncomfortable, but you shouldn't be like screaming pain. And if it's a really, really sensitive area, you can move away from it a little bit and kind of go on the outer edges of that sensitive area. And as you kind of loosen out the outer edges, you'll be able to get closer and closer to that hip joint and work on those deep hip rotator muscles. So when it comes to sets, reps, and time, one set, and what I would say is like 5 repetitions or like 5 movements. And the hold, when it comes to hold, you can find a sensitive area and kind of rotate around it, or you can hold that position for a second or 2 to let the muscle relax. But remembering, you're not trying you're not overdoing it when it comes to how, like, more pain isn't better, because what ends up happening is you end up getting a reverse response where the muscles will all tighten up and they'll get more pain from squatting. You want it to be sensitive, but we want the muscles to end up loosening up. Okay. So now moving on to the 5th one, and this ends up being the 90-90 hip flexor stretch. So with the first 3, we've loosened up the superficial muscles. The 4th one, we've gone deep into the hip, and now we're just doing a great overall stretch in the hip flexor muscle, which ends up oftentimes being the cause of hip pain when squatting. Okay, so you're gonna take a big step forward, you're gonna come down, so you got 90 in the front, okay, 90 in the back, so the right leg is back, so Donnelly's gonna bring the right arm overhead, you're gonna tighten up the abdominal area, you're gonna tighten up the glutes, bring the hips forward a little bit, and you're looking for a stretch in the front of the thigh, but also in that front of the hip. When it comes to sets, reps, and time, you're looking at holding, we're doing 1 set, you're gonna do 2 repetitions, and the hold is 20 seconds with a light stretch. So you're gonna hold this for 20 seconds, then you're gonna relax, you're gonna switch over to the other side. So this ends up being an excellent stretch, but in order to get the most out of this stretch, we needed to unravel the muscles, dealing with the superficial muscles, deeper muscles in the hip, and then we get to this stretch in order to get the most out of this stretch. Perfect. Now, number 6 ends up being, we want to work on our squat depth and loosening up our squat. So you're gonna take a weight and you're gonna do a weighted deep squat. So you're gonna squat down, good, yeah, excellent. You got the elbows in front, inside of the knees, you've got the weight, and then you're kind of trying to sit into your hips, almost trying to stretch out those that deep hip joint and creating more room in that hip joint. Now, you can start off with a lighter weight, then you can increase the weight more and more, and you're staying in this position for a period of time. Now, if you shift your weight forward, you can put more stress on the knee joint, which we don't want to do. We want to sit back, so you're kind of putting more of a stretch through the hip, and it's more of your glutes working. And you're gonna, I would start off with 30 seconds, and then you can progress on to 2 minutes. So when it comes to sets, reps, and time, 1 set, 1 repetition, start off with 30 seconds, but progress on to 2 minutes. Perfect, Donnelly. So there you go. That ends up being the quick fix for hip pain while squatting. Now, if you want some more of my tips and tricks when it comes to dealing with hip pain, what I recommend for you to do is click right here. I have a brand new free report called 5 Tricks to Fight Hip Pain and Tightness. Click right here, let me know where to send that report, and I'll send you that brand new report right away. Now, if you're watching this video on a mobile device, tablet, head down below into the description and click the first link, which will end up being exercisesforinjuries.com/hips. Let me know where to send you that brand new free report, and I'll send it to you right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, make sure to like this video. If you have a question or comment for me, leave it down below in the comment section. And lastly, before you go, hit subscribe so you end up getting future pain relieving videos.